themselves are the most uncomfortable when they're having light shine upon them, and it's not just them, it's everyone across the board. They start sweating when we have all of these people out here speaking truth. To this article that we had pulled up, we haven't even gotten a chance to talk about it yet, but I think it's representative of this. The MIT Technology Review has written an article entitled "It's Too Late to Stop Our Favorite Anon with Facts and Account Bans." They've gone past the point where just banning Twitter accounts, where banning Facebook groups, where censoring these links that people want to share on social media. It's too late. It doesn't matter. Everybody knows already, and everybody is already out there doing their own research. Mark, do you know anyone who's been directly affected by these recent bans and these recent shadow bannings that have been taking place on social media?
Well, yeah, me for one. I think we all have. You know what I mean? They've been messing with me on all these networks. So I mean, but let's look at California for a second. Let's look what Newsom's doing out there to the churches, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use this as an example. So he's out there, he's shutting the churches down. They can riot in the streets, but they can't go to church. And I think he's even hit the home congregation. I think I heard you guys talking about this a little earlier in the show, where Newsom was doing this, right? So, but here's what I want people to understand: this is a slippery slope. The church system, the systems of the earth are under judgment right now. And if you're in a 501c3 church, it's under judgment. I have been screaming this from the rooftops. It's been my most controversial message. I've been attacked here and there because of this. And so the church system's under judgment. So I think what's happening is a lot of people are blaming, this is an attack on Christianity, when in fact, is it? Or is it God's hand of protection coming off the church saying, sorry guys, you were told to come out of the system. It's on you now. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to have to deal with this enemy without a spiritual type of protection at this point, because the church system is combat ineffective. They've been too worried about wealth. They've been too worried about influence. They won't get out of the four walls of their church, get off the pew, get off your behind, and get on the front lines. That's my motto. They won't do that. It's like we talked about, I think, Joel Osteen last time I was here when he was marching in the George Floyd march.
Yep.
That was the most nervous individual I've ever seen in my life. Why? Because he's never been on the street. Well, that's where the mission field's at. That's where the church is called to. He's not used to being outside the security of those four walls, and that's the problem with the churches right now, and that's why they're under judgment. Now, I'm fixing to drop some red pills the size of watermelons here.
Let's do it.
Okay. The other day, let me give you an example of this. Okay. The other day, a lady comes out on Facebook, and she was part of the prayer call for the White House faith leaders. Okay. And so they had all the evangelical leaders on there, which you guys know I've been hammering the evangelical spiritual advisory board of the president for a long time now, mm-hmm. because he's got a lot of vipers up there around him. And so she comes on Facebook and was giving this whole itinerary that they were on the phone with. Guess who the guest speaker was on the prayer call of these faith leaders? Dr. Birx.
Oh, God.
Dr. Birx, dude. I'm like,
man.
What? So I'm listening to this lady, and she was angry, man, which rightfully so. And so here's what they on the call. The first thing Dr. Birx came out and said was the primary group in the outbreak was the faith community, which we all know is a lie.
Yeah,
that's what she comes out and says. Then she says, number 2, she encouraged them to stop singing because singing releases droplets and spreads the COVID. Number 3, she said she has written into the guidelines that they stay home, and she will push that. Now, this is coming from a federal level now, from the CDC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, she encouraged the elderly, the weak, and the immunocompromised among your faith community to take the vaccines. Mm. Number 5, she held up a physical copy of the interim guidelines for the communities of faith from the CDC. It was an actual guideline paper for faith. Now, I ask you, is this an attack on Christianity, or is it because of the 501c3 system that they're all a part of? That's what that is. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, she can get mad all she wants to. And I'm not disrespecting this lady at all because she was rightfully angry. It was righteous anger. The problem is, sweetheart, you answer to Dr. Birx. This is what the 501c3s don't understand. When you're a 501c3, you fall under the federal government. Mm-hmm. When you're a corporation, which they almost always are as a 501c3, you answer to the state. You have 2 levels of governing, state and federal. They have a slavery mentality. They don't want to govern. They want to be governed over. So it's like, you answer to Dr. Birx. Can they legally do this? Yes, they can, because you are a 501c3. And California, I've been screaming for almost 4 years now. I said, all it's going to take is a rogue state like California to say, hey, you either preach transgender or homosexuality from the pulpits, or we're going to shut you down. They can legally do it, guys. And look what's happening in California. And now all of a sudden, the Christians are panicking because they're trying to take back ground that they freely gave for that 30 pieces of silver for the 501c3 tax-free benefit. And that's the judgment, guys.
No, that's incredibly on point, because think about what happened when the Christian bakers wouldn't make the homosexual cake, or that kind of thing going on. It didn't take much, and that became a national story, and they got targeted, and then it becomes essentially a hate crime as far as public opinion on the narrative. So I agree with you entirely. If the churches don't step back and find themselves again, it's going to be the end of church as we know it, because I don't appreciate it. That's what happened with my father. He got undermined as a preacher, long story short, and then he had to step away to help save the church, and the people that took over turned it into essentially a corporation, and then now, as I understand it, they're not even a church anymore, and there was at least close to 1,000 people that would show up every Sunday.
Okay, let me give you another example of this, okay? Here comes another watermelon. Get ready. We talked about this in a pre-interview. The PPP loans that were handed out, okay? Now, the PPP loans that were handed out, guess where they went, guys? Joyce Myers, T.D. Jakes, Paula White. I don't care if she is a friend of the president. It's not right. These guys are multi-millionaires, some of them even billionaires, believe it or not. Do your research. And why would they take the money from taxpayers when they don't pay taxes? Now, this is the most incredible thing right here. And even Kanye West took, I think it was like $2 to $5 million, something like that. This guy's a billionaire. Why does he need this? Elevation Church was another one that took one. Now, there's a lady. I'm going to read this. I got her permission to do this. There's a lady that emailed me. She goes to Elevation Church, which is Steve Furtick. Please don't send me any nasty emails, guys. This is just, it is what it is. She says, hi, Mark. I attend Elevation Church here in Charlotte, and I've been a part since 2013. When you shared on the program about the churches taking the PPP money and Elevation taking a few million of that, I was really unsettled about that. So I asked one of the leaders at Elevation about it. She said, I thought you'd be interested to know the response. First, he acted shocked. Then that she actually knew. First, he acted shocked that I actually knew. And he asked how I knew. I told him it came through Reuters, the article in Reuters, right? Then he said, yes. So he admitted it. Even he knows it's wrong. He says, yes, they took the money, but we're using it to give to those in need. Now, I warned about that 2 weeks ago. I said, watch them come out and start with this mess. They're going to say they justify it by giving to the needy, okay? Now, he said he then instructed me to not spread this around. He also attempted to instruct me how to respond if I'm asked about it. I told him I did not understand why they would borrow from the taxpayer while not paying taxes themselves to give to those in need. To that, there was no response.
Even more than that is that the PPP loans are specifically to make your payroll so that your company or whatever it is can continue to keep going. And if the churches are shut down or they're not able to meet because of this pandemic that we find ourselves in, then what are they paying payroll to? I mean, how much of, I want to know exactly what money went to whom in with all of that stuff. So it's not only the churches too. You've got people like Robert De Niro receiving millions and millions of dollars for his companies.
Kanye West. Who's giving this money out? Is there no accountability? And I've been calling for now, there needs to be an audit on these mega churches. It has gotten out of hand. Look, in the Bible, it talks about when Joseph came to Pharaoh, he said, you're going to have 7 years of plenty, but you're also going to have 7 years of famine. What was that for, guys? That was to stock up so that the people would have plenty in time of famine. The church is supposed to be giving money out. Mm-hmm. These mega churches have had millions coming in for how many decades? And now all of a sudden people need money. The money's supposed to be going the other direction to help those that have been giving to those ministries for years. Maybe people need to start asking for their money back.
Absolutely.
Maybe they need to start demanding, where's my money going? We need to have an audit. I think you shared in my pre-interview. Who's got the audit?
Steve Mnuchin. Full audits planned.